Hi, this is Cameron back again with another Vinyl Finds video. It's number 30. As you may have noticed that I haven't been making Vinyl Finds videos for the last month or so. I've been busy buying cheap CDs rather than vinyl in the last while. It seems like all of my bargain bins and thrift shops have really dried up at the source. So I haven't found just about anything in the past month in terms of vinyl. Now, on Boxing Week, just after Christmas, my local record store had a 20% off and 25% off sale, and I hummed and hawed about going to that. And then finally, when I just about given up hope of any really great deal, they sent out their electronic newsletter, and it said 50% off for the final 2 days, so December 30th and December 31st. So I went there on New Year's Eve, and I picked up 11 albums, and they averaged out about $9 each, and it was 50% off. So I thought that it was a great deal. Now, to start off with, I should say I've still been lamenting a decision I made about 2 to 3 years ago to sell off a number of my albums because at that time my son had some dental surgery, and of course I had to rise up to pay for the differential between the insurance and the actual cost. So I sold off a lot of my albums that started with the letter A. I did that. I chose those particular albums because I had listened to them at least once through, and I thought, okay, if I'm going to part with anything, these are the ones I've actually heard relatively well. Now, the good news is that the same store that I sold them to is the one that had the record sale, and I was able to pick up a couple of the old albums that were mine 2 or 3 years ago, so they hadn't sold yet. To start off with, I was able to get back American Dream. Now, American Dream is a Philadelphia band, and they were produced by Todd Rundgren. It's from 1970, and this album has been described as on Wikipedia as a mix of Nas, Crosby, Nash and Young, and Raspberries. It's a real mix of power pop, light psychedelia, and hard rock from 1970, and they rank it quite highly as having pulled it off very well. So from 1970, American Dream from Philadelphia. I do have a picture sleeve single that I had not sold, and that's still upstairs with the rest of my collection. Okay, another album that I recovered that I had originally had for many years, Andwella's People. Now, I sold off the original first album of theirs and was not able to get that back, but this is their third album. So Andwella was a Northern Ireland psychedelic band. This is their third and last album. As I said, they started off as Andwella's Dream. This is from 1971, Andwella, People's People. Now, there were 2 or 3 other albums that I could identify as having been mine that I left behind. That'll be for another day if they're still around. Now, the other 9 albums are new albums for me, ones that I've never heard before. So first one up is from Soft Machine, a solo album by Kevin Ayers, one of his later albums, Diamond Jack and the Queen of Pain. This album came out in 1983 on Charlie Records, so it's a late album by Kevin Ayers. Let me just get it out of the bag. The actual vinyl I left still on the turntable because I've only listened to one side. So again, it looks like it's challenging music by Kevin Ayers. Now, I have ordered a CD box set on the original album series that features albums 3 to 7. I'm looking forward to getting that, to get to know Soft Machine a lot better. And I've also ordered the first 5 albums of Kevin Ayers in the original album series. So these are great collections for under $20 for 5 albums on CD, if you don't mind CDs. I consider CDs and LPs complimentary. LPs are what I listen to mostly at home. CDs are what I take to work to listen to, help me relax and help me concentrate while I'm focused in on getting the job done at work. Okay, next up, I had heard of this album but never seen it before. So this is an offshoot of Perth County Conspiracy Does Not Exist. This is Bob Burchill, the lead singer, from 1975, the album Cabin Fever. Now you may on Rumor Records, so it's a local issue from Ontario, although there's a live side recorded in Calgary. So they were obviously touring across Canada. It's before the time I remember. This is from 1975, Bob Burchill. And I should say that rather than being sort of psychedelic, off-kilter in the way that Incredible String Band is, so Perth County Conspiracy, the albums I have are like that, this one is much more straight-ahead folk and country. Now you may know that Perth County Conspiracy are one of my favorite bands of all time, so I was pleased to find this offshoot of Perth County Conspiracy, which was a band that formed around a commune in Perth County, Ontario, Canada. Okay, next up, an album I do have on CD, but was happy to find the original from 1968, folk rock band, which includes Jerry Conway, who had been part of Alexis Corner's backup band, as well as Trevor Lucas, who had been part of Fairport Convention and later on part of Fotheringay. This is the Collection from 1968 on Elektra Records. And then the gatefold. Oops. The name of the lead singer is Carolee Mail, if that's the correct pronunciation. Carolee Mail, and I understand that she left the band shortly thereafter, and there was another lead singer. But this is their only album. I don't remember if the CD includes non-LP singles, but it'd be great to hear the rest of their music. So that's some folk rock from Collection, 1968. Next up, from 1970, this is a band that had originally been called Piccadilly Lane from UK, and then they renamed themselves Edward's Hand. This is their third of four albums called Stranded by Edward's Hand, and it's sort of a West Coast sounding with a bit of prog rock influence from 1970, Edward's Hand. From 1967, some Sunshine Pop. So the store had a number of Sunshine Pop, and I decided to get this one since I had never heard of it or seen it before. This is The Eighth Day. On the Eighth Day is the name of the album on Cap Records, and they've been compared to sort of a mix of the association with Mamas and Papas. So this is supposed to be quite popular in Japan. I know that there's a CD reissue on a Japanese label. So On the Eighth Day, the band is The Eighth Day. Oh, I should say that Ron Dante is a producer, and supposedly he wrote some of the songs on that album. Next up, some Latin soul rock from the United States, El Chicano. This is Cinco. And this album came out in 1974. I recently watched a biography or a documentary on them, which maybe I'll review at a future date. I found the story of El Chicano quite interesting because they weren't so interested in becoming politically involved, but the people got them politically involved, sort of against their will. So they became politically involved in the El Chicano Latin Mexican rights within the United States. Next up, an unusual album. The album says its date is 1984, but in the on internet it says it's 1982. Originally on a small label, Triangle Records, and this is on CBS, which is also when the CD was supposedly released. Is 1984, which seems pretty early for a CD. It's Portuguese artist, prog rock, Fausto por Estereo Asima. So it's all about an experience on a boat and on a river, crossing the river. Then there's a nice booklet. Oh, I should show that this is one big picture. And then here's a picture of the artist. And you can probably see there's a booklet with some pictures and the lyrics. And I went to the Portuguese website of Wikipedia, and they say it's one of the most striking albums in the last few decades from a Portuguese artist. Next up, one of my favorite bands of all time, and I've also ordered the first 5 CDs, or I have ordered and received the first 5 CDs of the Incredible String Band on CD, to complement the 4 or 5 that I had. I think I have 4 now on LP. So the Incredible String Band, here's one I don't have on CD, Changing Horses from 1969. And I love the off-kilter folk rock of Incredible String Band. I've listened to this. It hasn't grown on me yet, so as always, you have to give Incredible String Band a time to sort of play in your mind. So this is Changing Horses from 1969. And then the gatefold has some nice artwork. It's hard to open it because it's a beautiful copy, new copy, like. Won't open all the way. I don't want to crack it open. And then finally, from the West Coast, United States, San Francisco, we have Quicksilver Messenger Service, their album from 1970, Shady Grove. Now you may know from my earlier videos that I really love Quicksilver Messenger Service. I have, I think now 5 on LP, and I've got a couple on CD. Ones I don't have on LP, so I've got 7 altogether. So that's it. Please leave your comments at the bottom. Look forward to hearing from you, and please subscribe. It'd be great to keep in touch. Let me know if you're like me, that when you find a bargain on CD, you see it as a compliment to your LP collection. You know, to me, CDs aren't bad. I still prefer vinyl, but when I find a great bargain on CD, I sometimes choose that instead of the LP. And it's also, I like to take it to work, so I have, whatever, 7-8 hours of listening time at work, versus at home I have maybe a couple hours of listening time. Okay, that's it. Look forward to hearing from you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.